Welcome to Ilagan Whiteboard Friday, where we look at complex legal and compliance issues in a simple to do way. This series is brought to you by Ilagan, your partner and provider of end-to-end business services.
Hello and welcome to Ilagan Whiteboard Friday, where we look at various tax and compliance related issues in a user-friendly fashion. Today we will look at if you have a company in India and if you have a company in US, what kind of connection and structure you should have. This is a very growing phenomena, especially in the IT space, where a lot of product companies or even services companies are going cross-national and establishing a company in US, either to own an IP or to just be a sales or service office or be a branch office, and a company in India for various development purposes. So, what are the things that you should be looking at? One is, what are the various structures available? So you can look at, so depending on your line of business, you should look at things like, say, a branch office or a sales office or just a research and development office, or it can be a support office, a project office. So these are some of the options that are available. And what structure suits you best, it depends on what all activities you are planning. Many times, even the fundraising process, for example, if you are a company which started in India but later you see more market in US, and if you are trying to approach, say, US based angel or VC funding agencies, most likely they would want you to incorporate in US and then fund into that company. So if that's the case, so depending on what all things you are doing, where you want to raise the money, and what are the relationship between both the countries, we should derive at a right structure that is available. Now, once you have decided on what is going to be the structure, then we also need to understand the various foreign direct investment norms and rules available. One option is you can have 100% ownership, or it can be a complete subsidiary. An Indian company can be a wholly owned subsidiary of the US company. Many times it also happens that the promoters own the company in their individual capacity rather than owning the company like a company under a company kind of thing. So that could be a scenario. The third scenario could be you are at US but your relatives are setting up a company in India. Then also there could be the purpose is basically to serve your needs, but your relatives are opening up a company here. So again, we need to see whether it comes as a related party transaction or not. So first we need to understand the FDI norms, how much FDI is allowed or what way would be the right way to form a company here. To know more into what are the challenges and norms about FDI, you can look at our other videos on FDI. Transfer pricing norms would come into picture because this is gonna be a related party transaction. So there is something called transfer pricing, which is generally a kind of a markup on your cost. So you are not just allowed to bill the US entity or any other entity outside India where you have a connection or a substantial interest at cost or under cost. So there has to be a certain amount of markup which you should charge on your cost and then do the billing. This is called transfer pricing. To know more details about what is transfer pricing, when it gets applicable and related norms and policies, you should look at again our other videos on transfer pricing, which covers the topic in greater detail. You should also take a call who's gonna be the owner of the IP that is created during the process. Will it be the Indian arm? Will it be the US entity? How the IP transfer would work, where the exact ownership would be created. Because in IT space, if you look, IP is one of the biggest asset, and if it is not done properly, there could be huge amount of capital gains or taxes involved while making a transfer. So ownership of IP, where it should remain, is another thing that you should decide before setting up a company at both the location and establishing a connection between them. ESOP policy, again, So you may have employees at both the location. So will you give ESOP of Indian company to Indian employees, US company to US employee, or you would offer say ESOP of US company to all over the world wherever you employ people, or will you issue Indian company ESOPs? So these are some things that you should be looking at. What it say makes sense. What are the related taxes, rules, and policies governing ESOP? Is there any tax implication? If yes, then the company is responsible to deduct proper taxes before issuing those ESOP. So ESOP policy is also an important thing that you should take into account. Again, if say Indian company is not a subsidiary of US company, say some of your relatives have opened up a company here, it might become little challenging to continue to offer services. You can do that, but offering an ESOP of a completely different company, which on pen and paper we show it as an unrelated kind of company, to the employees of the Indian company. So this could be a little challenging task to justify. So some of these answers would actually help you decide what should be the right structure that you should look at both the places. And even if you're trying to incorporate a company in US, you have to be aware, like one small example I'll give. Generally, in your individual capacity, you are not allowed to incorporate a company outside India. You can always buy shares of an existing company, but you are not allowed to incorporate as an individual. As a company, you can always incorporate. So some of these rules would actually decide what kind of entity you should set up in US, UK, or wherever it is, and India, and how the relationship or the connection between both the companies should happen. That's it on connecting India and US. Feel free to drop us an email at support@ilagan.com, or also you can check out our knowledge base ilagan.com/kb. Thank you.